Almost. It's not showing on my end still, which is weird.
for
There
Instagram
we go.
or
All right, we're good. We're good. I think it's loading up right now. It just takes. There we go.
okay, it's not frozen. Okay, yeah, I'm all good on my side, so I'm ready when you are. And again, Elise
Okay,
is still
and let
echoing.
me mute this. All right, we are live on my end. Sorry for the technical difficulties, everyone tuning in, but we are here. And for those of you tuning in, I know this is a new experience for everyone. Um, but thank you all again for tuning in. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop a comment before I introduce myself into the comment section to get us all connected. It's going to have the details of my guest today, as well as his handles, as well as, um, excuse me, as well as our personal handles and our branding handles. So just drop that in the live chat. That should show on. Boom. So if you guys look at the comment, that is it right there, which I'm going to go ahead and hide in 2 seconds. And here we go. So again, thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. My name is Nayland Smart, also known as Smart Guy, on Instagram and various handles as an artist. I'm here with my guest. Well, excuse me. Let me introduce the actual show. The show is called Show and Tell, or S&T broadcast, and I am actually here with a guest named Kendall, who is actually the founder as well as the designer of his own brand, Three Scoops. So before I have him introduce himself real quick, just to give you the premise of Show and Tell, it's pretty much designed for the person that I'm connecting with to show me a little bit about themselves or their brand, tell me about it, and we discuss it and have a great time learning about it as well as sharing, just knowledgeable points and connecting. But Mr. Kendall, Three Scoops himself, how are you today, my brother?
Yeah, I'm doing extremely well. Appreciate for those of us that have joined on Riverside, and then also those of us that have joined on Instagram Live as well. So yeah, it's been a great day. I actually just left a YMCA out Suffolk and did very similar show and tell a fashion presentation with some middle school, high school students out there. So I'm ready to excited to have our conversation.
Facts, facts. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, thank you everybody again for tuning in, man. This is the first gonna be the first of many conversations, just to be transparent. But Kendall and I connected years ago, here in the 757. I forgot exactly where, to be honest with you. I've seen him in various locations, whether it's a pop-up, whether it's a fashion show, whether it's a actual just networking event. I've seen him, or exhibition. I've seen him kind of everywhere. You know what I mean? But where are you from exactly? First and foremost.
Yeah, so my parents are military, mom, dad, stepmom, stepdad. So I'm from Atlanta, and then I've lived in like 10 different states, but I've lived in Virginia, at least the 757, longer than I've lived anywhere else. So it's kind of a toss up between Atlanta and Virginia Beach.
Gotcha. Okay, that's what's up. Naturally, I'm not from here, but been living here a long time, so I know a lot of people are naturally going to be from here. So it's always dope to connect with people that, rep the hometown or rep the area and are doing great things. It's always been a great connectivity point, I would say, just meeting a lot of you guys. But back to you, man. Okay, so uh, what? I guess I'll go ahead and start with. I don't even want to give a synopsis because I feel like, well, yeah, nah, I got to give a background. I got to give a background. I gotta give a background. So the reason why I even had Kendall on this show, everyone, show and tell, is one thing about his brand is it always spoke out to me as far as a sense of vibrancy, color, the way he presented his clothing. Anytime I saw it, it always looked like it was more than just a what you call it, a just a thing to do. It was actually exuding from him. So I knew that his brand was permeating not just a sense of passion, but also a sense of identity that he had. So I was always intrigued by that, and I definitely wanted to build with that, um, sense of just getting to know this person and this guy for so I've tapped in, but I haven't really tapped in, right? So this is basically my connectivity point, like I said, to you guys, the public, as I'm going on this journey and meeting people and learning more. That's why I wanted to kind of create the format of show and tell, so you as the viewer can really just follow along. It's nothing really extensive. It's a conversation, but it's really him showing and telling about what he encompasses with his brand, Three Scoops. So I guess I'll start off, since I've been rambling, right? Because I know the public is probably want to hear from you. Yeah, I guess I could start off with I guess not the first question, but the first segue, right? Let me see here. So when did you actually start Three Scoops, or when did it begin for you?
Yeah, so Three Scoops started. It's been a journey. It started a long time ago, right? The actual
Mhm.
concept was back in 2011. So I was an
Okay.
entrepreneurship major in school, and we had for our senior class project, we had to create our own business. I always knew I would be a business owner. I just didn't know exactly what I would wanted to do. So that's when I created Three Scoops as the business, and it's still going today.
That's dope, brother. That's dope. So, just so everyone's tuning in, I know y'all can see the picture up there, and I'm adjusting my camera as
Yeah,
well,
see
so
if
I'm
I
trying to
can move
distract. Yeah,
see if they can see a little bit. That's like my first pop up show I did in maybe 2013. I want to say maybe 2014. So yeah, it's definitely came a long way from at that time where I was purchasing blanks and just trying to embellish them with whatever money I had.
no, understood, understood. So with your brand starting around that time frame, you said 2011. Um, were you in school at the time, or were you out of school, or?
Yeah, so no, I was in school. I was actually
Mhm.
on my senior year, um, and yeah, it was just like I really only had a couple classes because I played soccer in college, right? So most of our players were trying to graduate a semester early, so you could spend that spring focusing on trying to get ready for combine and trying to go pro. Um, but since I redshirted, I'd actually finished all my classes for the most part early. So I was really just taking like electives and a couple like mandatory classes. But for the most part, I was I was already done for in terms of on paper. But in order to stay eligible, then I still needed to have some classes.
Understood, understood. And I remember you telling me off camera a while back, like originally this was like a project for you in school, and you really just kind of continue to run with it as you got older, obviously. But what was that like for you? I guess, did you see yourself really not just as a project, but more so like a actual brand, or was that the inception in your mind, or was it like, what, I'm starting this actual project, and this is working out, let me continue.
Yeah. I gotta say, hey, Miss Law. Miss Law was one of my teachers in high school, so I had to say hi because it's been years since I seen her. So starting out, this was strictly just like a school project. I wasn't doing it to further it. Um, anywhere from there. But honestly, like after I think the three top things I or four top things I did while I was in school was obviously I played Division 1 soccer, so that was number one. Um, I joined a fraternity, so I was a Kappa, well, still am, but a Kappa that definitely played a huge part. Um, Starting my business, which I was just doing for a school project, it was so much fun that outside of fraternity life and soccer life, this is what I enjoyed more than anything else. And then I think my favorite class while I was in school was world religion. So those are really the four things that I did that was the most fun. And Three Scoops was is the thing that I was able to continue outside of school. So that's really
Gotcha.
how
Gotcha.
I started. And we have like here I'll try to switch this around, but you can see. Hopefully, you guys can see like my first website from 2013 back in the day with my first designs and all that stuff from there. So hopefully that shows over pretty well on the screen.
No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, man. So everybody that's tuning in, by the way, yeah, we're keeping this a very free flowing type format, but I definitely want to give you guys just a bit of context. That's why I'm kind of jumping in between the sharing element with the screen as well as having this communication with Kendall. Just so you know, of course, we're showing and telling, right? So we got to have a little bit of show element in there. But yeah, man, that's dope. Okay, so when you were, you talked about being in school, you talked about it being, something that you were like, nah, this is something I'm gonna actually do. What made you get into, I guess you could say, what was your pathway into doing like pop-up events or events where you had to show your work? Like what was the pathway for that, and what was like your mentality behind that when you first started doing it?
When I first started doing everything, no expectation. I was terrified. There was no framework. I'd never done it before. Honestly, back then, I didn't do any research on how I should do it. It was strictly off of, I just think this is how to expand my brand, right? And we got to think this is like 2013. So doing pop up shops and events and stuff like that, it wasn't of the norm at that time. Um, so it was really putting yourself out there. Now, I think I only did like between 2013 to maybe 2000, early 2016. I had only done like two pop up shops. But in 2016, that's when I legalized everything. I think I did my first collection and I dropped a collection back home, which is, one of the photos that you just showed not too long ago was the flyer for it. So that's, I
Yeah.
say, end of 2016 all the way up until today. That's when I started doing pop ups. And here I'll turn the camera a little bit. So that was my first 757 event put on by my homie Dre in Virginia Beach off of Holland Road where I grew up. So that was my first 757 pop up event that I ever did. Um,
And I
and
think I got a picture of Dre, not to cut you off, but I'm gonna bring him
yeah,
up.
this is, let me see, that's us in North Carolina. I mean, I was super young then. I was maybe like 22, 23, 24 at the oldest.
Yeah.
I still had a hairline. Um, so yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
like the premise to what got in the pop up shops. And then when I moved 2016 into 2016, when I moved back to 757, I mean the creative scene was booming by then. There was an event. Honestly, it was like two, three events you could go to a week, and I supported
Mm.
everybody. And that picture you just had up is actually clothing and setup from that first pop up shop.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, that's the first one that we had. So that was part of my collection that I had dropped early 2016 back in the day. But yeah, it got to the point to where I mean, you can ask almost anybody in the 757 that does events and creative space. I have supported and been to just about every pop up event you can imagine, from the beach all the way to Williamsburg. So, I've been around.
No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, man. Okay, that's dope too, man. Because that's something I've definitely experienced a lot of when it came to, especially presenting fashion and clothing in this area. I would say like the 757, excuse me, 757 area being out here. The pop up shop energy or event template seem to be used a lot, right? Um, and yeah, so hold on, somebody's asking a question. Oh, somebody asked, what school did you go to, or did I miss it
No, I
on
haven't said that.
Instagram?
So I went to Lansdowne High School, 10th grade through 12th grade in Virginia Beach, and then I was in Florida in Cocoa Beach for my freshman year. So they probably wouldn't know MCC or Melbourne Central Catholic. I went there to play soccer. Um, and then for Fuzz Band on Granby, man, we did so many pop ups on Granby. Do you know which venue that was for Fuzz Band? Well, I was just
Shoot,
asking
man, that was
questions uh, from the Instagram. But yeah, if you know
okay.
what venue that was, then that'd be dope.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It used to be, I know, like you said, it was on Graham Street in Norfolk. Man, I can't believe it's slipping my mind. Like any other day, I would have remembered it too, because that was I want to say Fuzzy Wednesdays was a thing, right? That was
Okay.
happening like on Wednesdays. They used to do like a Wednesday event, and yeah, the name of the especially, but let them know. We'll try to get back to them on that.
Granby Street has changed so much from, we had Culture on there,
Right.
we had FM on Granby. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was tropical smoothie, Trosmo. So if it had tropical smoothie, that had to be next to Bonchon. Um,
Oh wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
that was
probably something else before
it was
that.
so, yeah.
but but it's all good. But yeah, whoever shouting out their question, we definitely appreciate that. But yeah, I'm gonna segue a little bit into I know you say you did a few pop-up events, but you also did some events, pop-up events outside of Virginia.
Yeah.
I remember you saying that you went to I believe it was Winston Salem, North Carolina, for a pop-up event. And like, what was that like? Your first, going out there to Winston Salem out of Virginia. What was that experience like?
Yeah, so I was actually in what they call in North Carolina the Triad area, because that's where High Point is located. So at that time, I was living in North Carolina already in Winston-Salem. I actually lived in and worked in Winston-Salem. So I was going to those events. I only did a couple of them, but it was right down the street from where I lived. When I moved back to
Hmm.
Virginia, I did go to an event in Charlotte with her name's Donna. She's a hairstylist and just a stylist in general. So I did go to Charlotte and do my first fashion show there. And I think it was just like we all lived in North Carolina. We had mutual friends. They saw I had a brand. They invited me out to do a pop up. So I drove from the beach to Charlotte. I was only there for like not even 24 hours. I was probably there for like 18 hours, right? But yeah,
Right, right.
it was fire. It was cool to get into, a different demographic. Obviously, I was still brand new to fashion at that time, still trying to find my lane. I wasn't even manufacturing at that time. I was strictly purchasing blanks and embellishing them. So, I mean, that's just super early on. I made stuff that I guess I'm proud of at that time. But it's definitely not what I make now, because I could do, for the most part, whatever I want.
Yeah, you've evolved, right? Like
Yeah,
that's kind of
yeah.
the dopeness of it. Like that was we're just reflecting on the beginnings, but it's always, in my opinion, great to look back on the beginnings or earlier points, just to kind of not just even gauge your progress, but also not lose sense of identity and embracing the evolution of that, right? Like I think. sometimes we don't, as artists, we don't want to go backwards and look at our old stuff. But I say it's always great to tap into your old stuff or your older works, even if it was 8 years ago, 10 years ago, and look at what you've done, right? Because like here's a picture we got up. I know that's not exactly the actual event, but I wanted to tap into that um, this actual image because I believe it was in Selden Market, right? But it was a while back, correct?
Yeah, that
It
may
was
have been
long.
2017. That's still before I started manufacturing. And so at that time, I was
Mm,
still purchasing blanks. I think I had like American Apparel. I was purchasing from. I was purchasing from. Dang, I love this brand too. Oh, Comfort Colors. I see a few of their
okay.
things there. I was purchasing from my hats at that time from I can't think of the name of them right now. Maybe Cap Wholesalers or Mega Cap, something like that. So yeah, at that time I was still purchasing blanks and embellishing the best of that I could. And I want to say maybe the next collection after that is when I started getting into manufacturing and making everything custom, kind of like what we can see behind us now. All of that stuff is custom.
Dope, dope. And yeah, and that's something about fashion, like where, I've always respected the mass production element of fashion, but there was always, I think what appealed to me was the customization part, right? Just naturally seeing things put together for individual or put together that's different. That's always something I always respected with custom. But I guess, since you talked about the pop-up shops and going out there and your brand, what's the biggest, in your opinion, what's the biggest misconception people have about starting a clothing brand, in your opinion?
I would have to say the biggest misconception is really like having everything figured out, right? I mean, it's almost like anything. You have to start somewhere. You're not going to have all the details. You're not going to have all the perfect scenarios. You're not going to have the best vendors, more than likely. Even if you do have the best vendors, right? It's like, do you know how to communicate to them?
Mhm.
Can you match their minimums? Some vendors are like, yo, your
Right.
minimum is 300. No ifs, ands, or buts. If you're doing denim, they come in at like, yo, your minimums are 1,000. Your minimums are 5,000. So even if you do have the perfect plan, there still can be barriers to where it's hard to cross over. And when I say cross over, I just mean afford it, right? Like it's hard to pay for what you need because you can purchase 1,000 units, but can you sell 1,000 units at where you're at?
Mm.
So I think it's really about starting with what you have. I always tell new designers, pick something out of your closet that you love, and then just try to recreate that because you already have a framework. You already can create measurements. You can already look at the details. You can pull that item up online if you don't know some of the details and probably read the description. You have a brand history. So you can, obviously create your own identity, but at least you have something to gauge off what you want to create. You have some type of background. So I think that's
Yeah.
the what I'd suggest the most out of everything. And shout out to Hannah. Hannah's on Instagram, and she's probably known me almost longer than anybody on here, and saw and knew and Jenna and knew me before I did any of this, and she'd probably tell you guys that this is crazy that I'm actually doing this.
Yeah, tell Hannah, shout out to her. Check us out on IG, both pages. Follow you. Obviously, she's following you on Three Scoops. Tell her check
Mhm.
out your host. I'm your host, M Smart Guy on Instagram. And of course, representing the Color Black Virtual Gallery with my guest, Kendall, the designer, the founder of Three Scoops. So just got to plug that in as we're flowing here. But
All right.
definitely want to share this image that we got here. I believe this was a trade show, correct? That you were part of?
Yeah, so hopefully they
Okay.
can see that.
Yeah, they could. Yeah, you kind of got it. Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah, the trade show. What was that energy like?
yeah. So that was actually during like right after COVID. So that's probably 2021. I went to an agenda trade show. It's called Agenda, it used to be like super popping. That one wasn't as popping for two reasons. For one, the main host sold that, and I think sold it, and then went and partnered with Complex Con, so they weren't bringing the same crowd. It was either Complex Con or it was dang, what's it called? Agenda, Complex Con, and I've done both, but I'm thinking I'm drawing a blank on the other one that they have. Magic is what it's called. So that was in Vegas. It was a great experience in terms of like learning about what they're looking for, who the buyers are, what the setup is, how they purchase, the type of apps they use to make a purchase. So, and then I had
Mhm.
ruptured my Achilles like 3 weeks before that trip, right? So that's why I'm on a scooter and I have a boot on. And clearly I have a mask on
Show the
too.
people, show your people,
Yeah,
show your people I do the boot, yo. They gotta see the
yeah,
boot.
I had the full.
They gotta see that you a warrior, man. You a warrior going out there with a torn Achilles,
Yeah, man, we were out in
winning a
Vegas.
championship, you know.
It was fire. But yeah, like it was dope. It was definitely a idea of okay, now that agenda isn't as popping as it used to be, it gave me a cheaper buy-in of what the setup is, how to impress buyers, what they're looking for, what their order process looks like, what the competition looks like, and really just how to set yourself up to be successful. Now it's like when I went and did Magic, so I wasn't a vendor in Magic. I just went to find suppliers because they have the supplier side of Magic and then they have the vendor side of Magic. I was more so on the supplier side, but some reason like I scanned my ticket to get in on the vendor side and it went through, so I didn't ask questions. So I really got to go look at the competition and see exactly like what their booths looked like, which was incredible, right? Like how professional it is, how efficient everything is, and really see what the competition is doing. So I haven't been a vendor at Magic yet, but that is one of the goals. And the reason for going to like these trade shows for the fashion is because that's where the buyers are. So if you're looking to sell, 10, 20, 30, 50,000 units all at once, that's the type of purchases these buyers are making. So yeah, you may only sell 10 units to one store, but let's say Nordstrom's could be there and they're like, oh, we want to buy 10,000 units. But two things, you have to be willing, you have to be able to support the purchase that they put in, and then you have to be able to compete with with your competition there, because for the most part, everyone's stuff there is super official. Like people that are setting up booths at Magic, those are like 30,000 plus dollar booths, and they're building out full frameworks, full lifestyles. So it just let me know like I really got to step my game up if I want to compete on this type of level.
Understood. Yeah, FFT, everyone. That's what I'm gonna just say FFT instead of saying food for thought and getting tongue tied. But FFT, as you're looking at your industry or you're trying to figure out where to go, this is for the viewers, obviously. What Kendall just found to the right room or going to the right setup that just stepping into and really going in with mindset of still learn a lot. Just understanding you like shoot, I'm in here, what I mean? I'm at least get this knowledge, and that's just dope. Like, sorry, I might have had a little bit of a, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I was listening. It kind of did a speed up and
Okay,
stuff,
yeah, yeah.
but we're good now.
Nah, it's not you. It had a probably I had a little notification saying like, "Hey," but but no, just everybody again, the crowd, the viewers. When you're tapping in and trying to learn what's going on, you have to really be a sponge. So what I interpreted from what you just described was, yeah, you had to really pay attention to just what is happening, not even necessarily a focus point of I need to connect with people, but let me just figure out what is happening here, right? So the connectivity can even happen with you just asking a person like, "Hey, I see your setup over here. What is it brand? What do you do?" Just asking those type of questions as opposed to directly trying to do business. You know, the Magic Convention, for everyone tuning in that's unfamiliar, that is a very big convention that I've known about for a while. That was known to be like the fashion hub of conventions, where it was, whether
Absolutely.
it's your brand trying to sell stuff, whether it's your manufacturer, whether it's your factory, whether it's your a distributor, whether you're a retailer, or you're a buyer. People were going there to tap into the next thing or find out how to scale their operations in a lot of different ways. So I've been there years ago, but not on that type of scale. That's a whole nother conversation I'll leave for another time, because that's like, I got to be growing up. Tell you, Vegas was crazy. That's a whole nother experience we're gonna tap into. But yeah, man. So okay, that's dope, bro. Like the Magic Convention again. Everybody's a big convention. So the fact that you were tapping into that in the early point of your career, is dope. You were already pinpointing like, hey, I need to be there. That's far away, but I got to get there. And you made it
Yeah.
happen. Um, so just to segue, with your brand Three Scoops, you talked about manufacturing, you talked about a lot of different aspects. Um, what do you think is the better approach when it comes to doing a brand? And obviously you could probably differentiate it with your brand. But what's a better approach in your opinion? Having multiple umbrellas of a clothing brand, or just having a you know staple prime unique brand? You know what I mean? Just to give context to those viewing, multiple brands of clothing, i.e., Ralph Lauren has Polo, has Polo Club, Polo Association, has those aspects, right? And then a unique brand would be like the Bapes, or a Penguin, right? Or Lacoste, right? Where Lacoste is Lacoste. Here's the logo. It's the alligator. That's it. So obviously, I'm talking to a real designer and a real fashion house coordinator, founder. So I want to get your opinion. Again, what do you think is better, a better approach? Multiple umbrellas of a clothing brand, or just a unique brand?
Yeah. So right before I answer, I would just want to say shout out to Meg and Kertrice. That is super dope. I knew about Magic and like Agenda back in those times, but I was like, there's no way I'll ever have the money to ever attend those, right? So I completely wrote them off. So you being able to go back in like 2012, that's super fire. But to answer your question, Nayland, it's like I think a lot of that. I mean, if you have the framework early on for like expansion and that's how you see yourself going, that's I mean, that's incredible, right? I wasn't there at all. Everything I've done has just kind of like grown over the years. So it's like, okay, we have Three Scoops. That started off as me just making clothes, trying to sell it. And then once I got into manufacturing and I was making custom pieces, it was actually someone, she worked at High Point University. So, but we were mad cool with, it was, so we had a lot of like, there was a lot of black employees at High Point University, but there wasn't a lot of black students. So we kind of just like stuck together, right? And this is maybe like 2020 ish around that time. And she hit me up. She was like, yo, my family, they're all like three generations of NY, New York Fire Department. Can you make something custom for me so I can, represent for them? And I was like, yo, I barely know how to make stuff for myself, right? I don't want to waste your money. I don't want to disappoint you. Like, kind of know. And she was like, nah, you good. Like, you'll figure it out. So that was my first real like project making something for other people. So I didn't really mean to start manufacturing for other people. It just kind of developed over time. It's not something that I thought was ever going to happen. So I did that, right? And then same thing, I make team wear. So I do athletic uniforms, basketball, soccer, different sports and things like that. Someone reached out to me again and was like, "Yo, can you make my son's team's basketball uniforms. I was like, well, I have the framework. I have an athletic
Mhm.
background. I know what we need
Mhm.
the uniforms to be in order to be functional and perform properly. So it's like the different areas that we have business now. Um, it wasn't really on purpose. It was kind of like, well, we can do this, so why not have another revenue stream? And even with, we get into government contracts as well. And I'm like, well, I'm already manufacturing for individuals and business to business. If I can get, hopefully one day, right, I can get like a
Mhm.
100,000, 200,000 government contract and beyond. Why would I? They're buying beanies, they're buying socks, they're buying workwear from other people. Why not pay us for it, right? So that's kind of, I just feel like it grows as you grow. But if you come into the game and you already know what you want to do and you're like, yo, I want this, this, and this, shout out to you,
Mhm.
because that's my brain wasn't working that way at that time. I'm just, you feel me? I'm just trying to hold on.
No doubt, no doubt. And just to add a little background on why I even brought that up as a thing, right? Is obviously I've been around the fashion industry. I don't know if they can hear me through your
No, they
speaker
can
or
hear you.
whatnot.
Yeah.
Till I said hello. But yeah, like from for reason why I brought it up is because naturally I've had experience in the fashion world, being a photographer, but getting the I would see a lot of different, how do you want to call it, presentations of brands, right? Where, like I described, you have a brand that's kind of showing you their sense of versatility, but also within different umbrellas or different names or different contexts of how they're presenting it. And then I was seeing the same brand, with one name, but then they got all these different types of ways of presenting their clothing. You know what I mean? So just to give context, like to me, I never saw an issue with either or. I just saw a difference as an artist and as someone that was capturing everything. And I said to myself, like, is it really a utility aspect of it, or is it more so like a creative aspect? And it just seems to be more of a creative aspect, right? Like somebody creatively is just like, hey, I got these brands. This is how I see this looking. This is how I see this looking. This is how I see this looking. As opposed to someone that's like, I have this amalgam of presentation of artistry that I want to show. So this is just the house of whatever, and then boom, you just getting hit with a dress or something like that, right?
Right.
So yeah, no, that again, everybody just I'm gonna provide a little context to why I just be bringing up stuff, because I know sometimes they like, why would he ask that question? You know what I mean? But yeah, just had to give context. But another thing, since everybody's, oh, you got something
Well,
real quick,
I was
or
gonna say I had a quick question. Some of it is out of necessity too,
okay.
right? So it's like some of it is like
Mm,
I need to make some bread and I have these resources. How can I put my skill set to use to make some money? Like that's how a lot of like the teamwear came about, right? I was like, yo, all right, he asked me to make some basketball uniforms. I made them. It went all right.
right.
It could have went a little bit better. And now I'm competitive. I'm like, what can I do to make this even better? And then once I figured
Yeah.
it out and started building a team, I'm like, oh, we can really take off with this. So like some of it is just based off of the hustle, and that's just part of the
Yeah.
game too. But my
I'm
bad.
glad you. I'm glad you said. No, that's not. No apologies needed. I'm actually glad you brought that in. With it's about necessity. It's about survival. It's about what, and that's the resilience of artists, is that we are finding a way to use our resources in a creative way, right? Or see that there's an end goal to something, and it may not necessarily be the traditional way of getting to that end goal, but you're gonna somehow get to that end goal, right? We're gonna find a way, right? So, all right, so okay, bet. So since we flowing into this, survival, necessity, resources, right? So I'm gonna bring it a little bit broader, right? So to me, there's always been a sense of trendiness when it comes to fashion. Even though we talked about uniqueness and creativity, but there's still the trendy part, right? Just to give context, bell bottoms were hot in the '70s. They disappeared in the '80s. And then they kind of came back out in the '90s a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, Kendrick
Real
Lamar a
sneak
couple
tip,
of years
right?
ago, they back at it.
And I was just you said it. I was about to say that I would say probably about 10 years ago they dropped out, and you seen the bell bottoms being a thing again. Just to give that context. But there's also some trends that disappear. Like remember back in the day for everyone tuning in, late '90s, early 2000s. Excuse me, I don't know if y'all remember, but we used to wear the vests, like the bubble vests. But a lot of us had the ski goggles for no reason. Not skiing
Yeah,
anywhere,
right.
but we had ski goggles, right? That was a trendy thing over time. So I look at trendiness in fashion as a formula, right? It's a formula of not necessarily that someone wants to partake in or, you know, I guess you say create, but you're a part of it, right? It's just a part of the whole lexicon of fashion. So in your mindset, that formula of trendiness, do you feel like it's negative or positive? Like, is it over time? You think that it's like help push fashion forward, or is it kind of like an industry thing that's not really helping it overall?
Yeah, so I'm so
The
glad you
concept
said
of
that
trendiness.
because
Yeah.
this literally just came up when I was talking to the students at the YMCA a few hours ago. Someone had a similar question, right? And my answer to them is
Oh,
like,
dope.
um, growing up, especially being a military brat and living in all these different states, I was like, everything used to be regional. So to give a little bit of context, right? When I lived in Central Florida, it was Tracy McGrady, Orlando jerseys, and Reeboks or T Max, right? That's what she was wearing. That was the fit. When I lived in Georgia or Atlanta, it was Fila's, Reeboks, tall tees, slouch socks, long shorts or jorts, the jean short joints. In Virginia, style was way different when I moved. I was the countryest. Yo, son, like what? When I moved from Florida to Virginia, I had to buy a whole new closet. I couldn't wear nothing. So it was like when I moved back up here, it was like DCs or Air Force Ones, G Nikes. Shout out to Lay, she's from Louisiana. So G Nikes. So it was Forces.
Okay.
Lots of retro Jordans. And then it was a lot more. I'd say in this area, it was a lot more like who do we wear back at that time? LRG
Oh
and
yeah.
uh, Nietzsche and academics and
What time frame we talking here? This is
this
like
is
2000 when?
5, 6, and then it fast
Okay.
forward very quickly to it went to Bape. In that same
True
time frame,
religion.
went to Bape, True Religion, Black Label, Red Monkey, um, and
What's
then
Travis? What's the other joint? Famous got
yeah,
popular too.
famous stars and stripes. If we're talking
Yep.
about seven five
Yep.
seven, Schmack came out at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Smack. Yep.
A Life was popping at that time. True Religion. I mean, so it
Yep.
was like the streetwear hit, and I'm sure it was very same for New York too, right? So it was like very
Yeah.
very different here from me coming from the South, from Florida and Georgia. I was like, yo, I got to throw my whole closet away and start over, right? And I did, I had some Bape and Famous, and I definitely had a ton of LRG and Rockaware. I didn't really rock Rockaware like that because I was a Nas fan, so like I was on Rockaware kind of late. Um,
I
but
got you.
I'd say like LRG was probably my number one, and then I went to like slim fit, skinny jeans. This is maybe like late '06. I wore tons of polo. I wore Black Label for like a semester, and then
Mm-hmm.
my favorite jeans. This is gonna be crazy. My favorite jeans in high school were skater jeans because they already had like the raw denim for an affordable price that you can get from like PacSun and stuff like that. But then after that, outside of like Rock Republic and True Religions, my favorite jean was Donna Karen. Donna Karen made the best slim fit jeans that you could possibly purchase outside of Levi's at that time. And I don't
I
care what
feel it.
nobody say. Because back at that time too, like me and my friend group were some of the only people to get things tailored. So like we were getting all of our clothes tailored to fit how we want it to fit too. Um, I don't even know if this is on topic to the question that you answered that you
Yeah,
asked. Yeah,
well,
reviews,
yeah, mainly just
hate,
the industry,
all of
the
that, bro.
trendiness. Yeah, like,
Yeah,
is it trendy to be positive? Is the trend element of fashion hurting or helping the industry?
yeah. Okay, this is where I started off. So back
Yeah,
then, a lot
I
of things
got you.
was regional. So if you was from New York, like when you came to school, we knew you was from New York. You was from Atlanta,
Yep,
we knew you was from Atlanta. Florida,
yep.
Texas, Cali, like we could pinpoint exactly where you were. But now it's like even when I went to Japan in 2020, fall 2024, it was like the only way I could tell some of the people, like obviously they're Japanese, but it was like the style was still very similar. Either you had the streetwear scene, either you had, yes, Drapodes was popping. I had
I
a
was
few pair of
yes. Don't
Drapodes.
forget
I had
Fat
the
Farm
jorts.
too. Tell them don't forget Fat Farm.
I had fat forms. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't have the shoes, but I definitely had fat form.
No, we had the t-shirts, we had the jeans.
I
Yep.
definitely had the jeans. I definitely used to rock Echo. Yeah, all of that stuff,
Yes,
man. Like
yes,
it was crazy. But even in like Japan, right? They have their
yeah.
different silos. So they have the goth look. They had the prep, like you're gonna rock barber jackets and Zara type fits, like
Right.
hunting type looks, and then they had the streetwear look. So it was cool being over there and like wearing things. A lot of my clothes I've had for like 15 years, 20 years, especially my polo stuff. Like I've had that since senior, junior,
Yeah.
sophomore year of high school. So it's like showing up over there with some of that stuff and then showing up with like some of the shoes that we had. They were like mind blown on like, yo, that's so dope. And to us, we're like, bro, we've been rocking this stuff forever. But to them, it's like, yo, we don't have that. But then at the same time, right? Like they have like their Solomon store, crazy. Their Samba game, crazy. Their high fashion, how they can shop, whether it's uh straight from high fashion stores or secondhand or things like that. Like you're getting deals you can only imagine. I'm not really huge on resale and thrifting, but their resale and thrifting store, absolutely insane. It's untouchable. You're getting things that you could never imagine from like my girl got a Burberry overcoat, like wool and
And this is
cashmere. I
Japan.
think, yeah, this is Japan, like $150, and we're like, how?
But I could say so to that point of how I would say being in New York, that's what made me very aware of fashion too, right? Because of course they call New York the fashion district. So even with all these trends happening, right? There was still a okay, you can go to Soho in New York, right? South Houston, for that's what Soho stands for. South Houston. That's the
I've never
fashion
known that, by
district.
the way. I've had that. That's something
Hey, we
I'm
learn
not
we
familiar with.
learning, baby.
Yeah.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. So no doubt, because you make sure when you go to New York again, you can talk about South Houston. They're like, "What the hell are you talking about?" You gotta be like, "Yo, I'm going to Soho." So yeah, Soho, South Houston. Then you have Canal Street. South
Mhm.
Houston was still known as the fashion district in New York, with a lot of garment D factory type style of making clothes, and then you had Canal Street, which wasn't that far from Soho, but that had your mass. You're getting a Burberry bag, you're getting a cologne, you're getting some Tims, right? You're getting a cat from somewhere. You're getting connected to the Chanel's and all that stuff, the name brand stuff, right? So the reason why I even say that I'm segueing that into the point is, in my opinion, it doesn't seem, and the reason why I say is it positive or negative is because I don't really see it as a positive or negative thing, trends, but I do see it as an important barometer or factor and not just how the artist presents their craft, but how the consumer sees and appreciates the clothing or appreciates what's out, right? So, imagine, we had back in the day some brands that were popular in presenting their brand uniquely, and then they were copied later on, right? Just to give context, no shade to anybody, not trying to get, demonetized or sued or nothing, but I remember back in the day, I used to, rock Diesels when I was in high school. That was like, you wear some Diesel shoes. That was the new thing at the time. They had different styles that was different. Everybody was wearing the typical kicks, the Air Force Ones or Uptowns, and wearing Tims, and I was wearing the casual joints. I'm wearing some khakis and a polo in high school. They look at me like, yo, what are you trying to be on?
Right.
Go to college, Diesels is super popular now. Everyone is buying Diesel jeans, Diesel whatever. And then of course Diesels, I think they expanded a little too fast, and then Skechers started copying their style. Like there were Skechers shoes that I literally saw come out, and I'm like, those are like the Diesel shoes that came out way back when. It was almost like they were waiting on that style to fade out, and then they would pick it up, right, and sell it at
Right.
a cheaper price. So my
Someone
point
said
in bringing
Diesel's
it
was
up is
fire. I'm like 99% sure she's from New York too. So y'all, I'm sure y'all got the same.
shout out.
Yeah.
She already know Diesel. We was doing it. We was doing it. But yeah, so what made it interesting for me with that concept of the trendiness, because I still look at fashion as art, right? And I always see things, people drop something like Ed Hardy hats. That was like a thing for a while, the Ed Hardy vibes.
And Hardy, Black
But
Label,
before that was Von.
crazy.
Right, right. But remember, before that, Von Dutch had a little bit of a trucker hat market
Hmm.
before Ed Hardy started putting the designs on it. People were rocking the Von Dutch, Von Dutch, Von Dutch.
Facts.
And then it was like Ed Hardy dropped the t-shirts, and then it was dropping the hats. But they was, you know what I'm saying? So all this was around the time when I was in school and I saw it coming out and being connected with folks. So that's kind of like the dopeness of like being around a little longer, right? You could kind of
Right.
see and recall, like we just did, times when like, yo, this was actually something that, I remember this, but okay, so
If you
with
don't
with
mind,
that,
only
yeah,
because this is somewhat relevant. It's not on the fashion
yeah,
scene, but it's on the technology scene. So I told you I just came
sure,
from the presentation with at the YMCA out Suffolk, right? Obviously, most of those kids are
yep,
high school, middle school. So I'm going through. I kind of showed the same folder I shared with you, right? It has the past, the current, and the future of what we're looking to do. So when I opened up the past folder, and I'm like, oh snap! Like this is the first Twitter. This is the first Instagram. This is the first YouTube
yeah,
interface, and they're like mind blown based off like, damn, I'm older than YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, like all of that, right? So they were just like, I mean, obviously they were like, "Ill, this is disgusting," but at the same time, they were so intrigued, like, "Damn, I can't believe this is what this used to look like." And then I always tell students too, like, just like my parents would tell me, TV used to turn off at midnight. You couldn't. The whole system would just shut down, and that was the end of television. I'm like, yo, you used to be able to scroll to the end of your social media, and if you went to bed at 3 o'clock, you could scroll back to 3 o'clock and be like, all right, I'm gonna start from what I left off until you get to 8 a.m. or whatever time you woke up on. So very similar with fashion, right? We can kind of recollect on like when all these things popped off. Even when I talk to, I don't know if my sister's still on here, but like she's 10 years younger than me. So even like Drake, Kendrick, Drake, Pusha T, I can go back to like, okay, well, Drake and Pusha T wasn't a thing until maybe 2010, 2011. But even before then, it was, Cash Money and Pharrell and Clips. Like, there's history. That's how it bubbled
hmm,
up to what we got today and stuff like that. So, yeah, man,
facts,
it's wild.
facts. Yeah, man. So that's dope that you said that, because yeah, we have those moments where we can recall what it was like, what life was like pre-internet or pre certain things that are normalized now. And to your point, for the youth, this is partly what made me start having these type of conversations, was that as we're going to a digital frontier, digital forefront of receiving information on all fronts, I started realizing that this is how they're going to get their information. This is how they're going to research a lot of things, which is through social media and through YouTube. So in
Absolutely.
my mind, I'm like, well, we have a lot of scrolls, we have a lot of gifts that we can provide, a lot of knowledge can be given, but we're not quick to go out on YouTube or go live like we're doing now. So sharing these gems is something that I always saw this being, a major component. Tune in, learn something, learn what the grind was like before everything was so digitized, before COVID. That's one thing why I wanted to have you on here too, is that you experienced the grind of not just in inception but actually presenting your brand places. Like, you didn't have you couldn't just rely on just, what, let me just only post online, go heavy on that, and if people come in and join and follow, that's it. Nah, like, you actually had to show up places, you had to show up in the industry, you had to actually participate, you know?
So if you don't mind, and I know we're at time, but like this is
What
another
we,
conversation.
we got time.
All
We
right,
got
cool,
time.
cool. Yeah, I'm good for the day. But this is another conversation that I had with the kids not too long ago. It was like, yo, when I started back in 2011, 2012, like selling clothes online was not popping like that. Do you pretty much this was the dumbest idea that you could ever do at that time. People, I got all the negativity that you can possibly imagine from how am I going to know how it fits? It's going to take me too long to get my clothes. Why would I buy it online when I could just go to the store? Um, I
Mhm.
don't know how to read a size chart. I don't care about that. Uh, Shoot, I even showed a design to where I think you've probably seen it. It was a ice cream cone, like a slender ice cream
Mm.
cone, very different from like Billionaire Boys Club, and it had three pastel flowers on it. And somebody looked at me and was like, "That has pastel flowers on it. Men are never gonna wear that. That type of design's never gonna work in fashion." And I scrapped it. I took that at face value. I was like, "Yo, all right, well that was a dumb idea on my point." Side note to
Mhm.
today, what men are wearing any and everything that I couldn't even imagine men wearing 15,
The
20 years
prints,
ago.
the color tones,
Yeah,
the
like
fabric choice,
everything.
everything is like, yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, I told them I was like, yo, there was no same day, 1 day, 2 day, 3 day shipping unless you're paying $100 to get your product. Like that, you was waiting 7 to 14 days minimum. So, oh, somebody brought up something amazing. All right, I gotta tell them this. So I'm so glad you said
Yeah.
ice cream got the pastel color. So when it comes to Three Scoops, right? When I first started
Okay.
out, there was three brands that I based the brand off of. Number one, my favorite brand of all time, which was Ralph Lauren, and I chose them for the timelessness of it, right? Like Ralph Lauren's not going anywhere no matter what trends do. So that's number one. Number
Yeah.
two, as you stated, was Billionaire Boys Club or Ice Cream because of their color palette. So when you say the pastels, that's exactly it. Pretty much being raised in the 757, especially Virginia Beach, the erosion of the buildings from, just the ocean, right? Turning darker colors into
Mhm.
lighter colors. That always inspired me to kind of go with that like color palette that I have now with the pastel blue or the sky blue, and same thing with the pastel yellow. The third brand, and I don't know how many people this is going to resonate with, but hopefully everybody has heard of Johnny Cupcakes. He's out of Boston, and pretty much Johnny Cupcakes,
I heard of them.
yeah, they were a band. They needed tour merch. He created crossbones with a cupcake on it, and then he created an entire theme around a bakery. So even if you go to his pop-ups, even if you go to his flagship stores, you're going to see like when you go in his store and you want to get a shirt, you pull down an oven door, get an aroma of baked goods smell, and then pull your shirts out. So I was like, yo, that's super fire. I would love to have something like that. Okay, how can I do it? And that's how Three Scoops kind of came about. Because I was like, okay, I can kind of do a play on ice cream. We don't sell ice cream, but at the same time, you can get clothing. So I put all three of those together. And that's how Three Scoops came about. And then in terms of the name, it used to stand for, and as you can see on the logo, I'll see if I can get this here. As you can see, it says comfort, style, relaxation. Over the past, that's very simple. It's very safe. It's comfortable, but it really does, to me, didn't resonate with people to give them an emotional feel. And that's why I've rebranded over the past 2, 3 years to where, now Three Scoops stands for self respect, taking your power back, and controlling the narrative you want the world to see. So, obviously, as us as Black Americans, right? Or no matter what your heritage is, some form of Black. We that resonates to us, but it doesn't just stop there, right? It really can meet no matter what demographic, because as long as you're willing to respect yourself, as long as you're willing to do what you believe in, and I think especially in today's time, controlling your own narrative and telling the truth that you feel like needs to be heard is super important, because it's kind of rare now, and it can get muddled out by all the noise that we have from social media and this, that, and the other. So that, really, I feel like speaks to today's times. And who knows, I may rebrand in another 2, 3, 5 years, right? But right now, I feel like
Right.
that's perfect fitting. So sorry for that tangent, but I felt it was really important to
Not at
kind of
all.
show how that happens.
Oh no, not a tangent at all, because it really segued into one of my questions, which was going to be like, how did you differentiate yourself from other brands while presenting Three Scoops to the world? So you actually just answered it without me having to ask it, which is
And
perfect. So no, not a tangent whatsoever. And as you, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if I could add one more thing to that question, and if you don't mind, just for people that may have
Yeah.
missed out, what can you repeat that question again?
Oh, what I just what my question was gonna be
Yeah.
essentially. Yeah, so my question was essentially, how did you separate yourself from other brands while presenting Three Scoops to the world? And you basically broke down how you were inspired. Oh, go ahead, Richard. You can probably add something. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
because I feel like a big thing, right, is outside of fashion and on the day to day that's always in our control. So I feel like my biggest thing was focusing on what I could control. One thing I can't control is how my clothes resonate with somebody, how my prices look to somebody, how somebody sees themselves in something that I create. But what I could control was, and like I said, I've done events with everybody in the 757, right? Through all 7 cities, just about. I know that, for one, I can show up early to every single event. I could help set up with every single event. I could have a positive attitude, whether things are going right or not with the event, right? I could
Right.
not complain at the events that I'm at. I could pay my vendor fee and not ask for a discount on the vendor fee, uh, whether I made money or not. So, like, those are things that we all can do. And I feel like on the business side of Three Scoops, in terms of what I hope where respect has came from, that's what separated me on that front. It's just business acumen. If I was hosting an event, if I was doing something, how would I want people that are working with me to present themselves? So I've always been huge on that. Now, when it comes to the fashion side, you know, I understand that I have a premium price, but at the same time, and there's so many people that can attest to this, I will spend damn near my last dollar to give people the best product that I could possibly give them. Whether I break even or make a profit or not, it's like at the end of the day, and I'm sure we're all raised the same for a certain generation, the only thing you had, according to my granddad, was your name, right? So it's like that's always what I want to rely on. I've lost money doing things, deals with people, but it was like, yo, my manufacturer didn't hold true to what the expectation was. I'm gonna redo your. I try not to do this because it's expensive, but I'm gonna redo your entire order off the strength of love, right? Because I don't want your last thought of me being, man, he screwed me over. It's not that good. I'm like, nah, bro. Like, I need you to see that even if this next order doesn't meet all the way your expectation, I need you to understand that I took you. You could have spent your money anywhere in this world, and you spent it with me, and that means a lot. And I need to do the best that I can to show you what it is, and or just how serious I take my craft and take you, and how much I appreciate you as a person spending money with me. So sorry for that tangent, but at the same time, like, like I feel like that's kind of lost in the world. Everybody, not everybody, a lot of people are me, 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 and it's like, yo, like this is a community, and the only way we can make it to where we want to be is if we work together and do it properly. Because going solo is it's an uphill battle.
I agree. I agree. And I appreciate you sharing and answering that specific question. Again, just giving context, I brought that up because we talked about trends, we talked about, just different umbrellas, all these different things in the aspect of the industry. But with that, it's a lot of people are finding it difficult to be different. A lot of ideas have been done before. A lot of people are, inspired by brands, but don't know how to actually put their essence into it. And, you described the business element, which I think is definitely important for all artists to understand that the business element is part of in my opinion, the higher echelon of how you're presenting yourself as an artist, and a brand. Even though I don't have clothing personally, I am a brand by the work that I do.
Absolutely.
So it's just, over time, you want to try to be professional. You want to try to be as respectable in your decision making as possible, but always having the best interest of the customer or the client. I think that's like you said, the overall arching point, right? Like,
Right.
that should be what supersedes everything because you're doing it to present that to a client. You know what I mean? The garment, the end product, it goes to someone, right? So okay, so just a segue, a lot of people have been tuning in. I know they've been asking questions. Again, everyone that's tuning in, I'm, smart guy. This is Kendall from Three Scoops. This is going to be on YouTube later on as well. Just stay tuned. Follow us on both avenues, please, so you can keep in the know. But just to kind of tap into the viewers or anyone tuning in, um, for someone that is trying to, I guess you could say, you talked about the business side, but if you can add a little more, like where can a person that's starting to start a brand or even just push out creatively in fashion what they're doing, like how can they win or not even, I wouldn't even say succeed because I feel like that's relative, but win in a sense of hitting milestones. Like how can they do that in this fashion climate of today?
Yeah, it's crazy because the student asked this today, right? So my exact
Hey.
answer, right? I was like, oh, this is a good warm up for the
Heck
podcast.
yeah.
So I would say it's a couple things, right? And I express them because they're younger than most of us that are on this podcast right now, right? I said studying is the number one thing that you can do. It may not be sexy, it may be boring, it may not be cool to your friends, but like, oh, congratulations on the launch, Jay. That's fire. Um, but yeah, like studying is the number one thing you can do. And when I say studying, like you don't even have to spend money. You can go in your closet right now and choose your best item and say, I would love to recreate this with my branding, with my imagination. What about this do I love? And what about this makes me want to express my creativity on how I can make it different, right? We all for the most part start with a template. So, that's number one. Number two, I would say is don't be afraid to like be uniform. Like right now, like I said, there's not as many regional sounds. Like we know what people from New York sound like back in the day. We know what somebody from Florida sound like. We know what somebody from Texas and Cali. Right now, everybody is using everything, and you can hear something. Like the first time I heard ASAP, I was like, "Oh, he got to be from Texas." I had no idea he was from New York the first time I heard ASAP. Granted, that was a different sound for New York at that time, so I'm not saying that. But right now, so many people sound and look just the same. It's very difficult. So you have to be comfortable with saying, I'm willing to. If I'm from Texas, I'm willing to pull a old school Cali style and then explain the history around why I like this. So you don't have to do everything that everybody on the gram, on Twitch, and whatever social media platform is out there now. You don't have to do what they're doing and say, this is it. Is it good to have a reason why you're doing what you're doing? Absolutely. But you don't have to fit within anyone's box. And I think that, kind of lasts throughout history. And then last thing I'd say, um, do your after you do your research, don't be afraid to spend money. Because when I started manufacturing, the reason that took me so long to do manufacturing, I was like, the minimums are going to be too high. I can't afford 1,000 pieces. They're going to scam me. I'm going to send them money and they're
Mhm.
never going to send me my product. I'm going to order my product and it's not going to fit and it's going to be a waste of my money. I'm going to order my product and it's going to take 7 months for me to receive it. And then I'm not ever going to get
Mhm.
it. Right. So I came up with every excuse you can possibly imagine with ordering products from overseas that you don't know this person from anywhere and they can just get over on you. But I created a framework. One of my friends challenged me, right? He was like, "What are you willing to lose?" At this time, I had like $100. I was like, "Bro, that's all I got, dog. Like, I can't anything over 100. I'm homeless.
Right.
You feel me? Like, so um, I
Right.
chatted with the
Right.
manufacturer. We talked for like probably like 3 weeks, anywhere between 3 to 6 weeks before I spent some bread. Came up with a framework. I think the very first thing I made was like just an Oxford button up,
Yeah.
just a white button up, three embroidery on the chest, custom buttons, and I was like, "Yo, make that." And the deal was, "Yo, it's $100 for this sample. You make the sample, ship it to me. I'm gonna pay you half. When I get it, and I can see you put effort into it, I'll pay you the other 50." And it worked out. Now, has a lot of those things that I said earlier, have I sent money and my product came back trash? Absolutely. Have I sent money and people screwed me over and didn't send me my product? Absolutely. Have I spent money and my product came out in a wrong size? Absolutely. But I learned from every single one of those transactions, so I know how to mitigate it to my best, for it not to happen again. So you got to kind of just like evolve with that because that's going to happen in any shape, form of fashion, right? Like even in the soccer world, you can say, "Oh, Danny just joined the live and she can attest to this," right? We could be doing soccer trainings and she can be like, "Man, these soccer trainings is trash. My son isn't getting any better. You gypped me out of my money because she didn't grow up in a soccer household. She didn't know what to expect. Okay, this could be an easy lick." Luckily, I don't do that, and I do the best that I can because it was like, yo, I wanted to go pro. Why not anybody that I work with? I would want them to have the same ambition and get them to there too. So it can happen in any facet
Yeah.
of business and life. Um, but you just got to kind of do your research and create frameworks, study, and really just you got to have that faith to keep it moving. And when things don't go your way, you got to figure out instead of pointing the finger, even though it feels much better to say this person did this to me and that's why it happened. You got to figure out what could I have done better.
Mhm.
So that's my take
Yeah.
on that.
I would Heck yeah. And just to the viewers, man, just to add on that, man, like you said, like you really have to have a sense of knowing that you're doing this trial and error.
Hmm.
So if you give yourself an understanding that I'm going to be trying some things, it may change over time, it may succeed, it may fail, but I need to learn from this. That should help you a lot in your process, in my opinion, of elevating or trying to succeed. I mean, you're gonna like you said, you're gonna, after you research, and because similar journey myself. I researched photography, looked up a bunch of people, looked up some of the old people from way back in the day, saw the styles, was like, okay, I see this. Started going to a whole nother wormhole. And I'm like, you know what? This is, I know what I want to do, right? And then starting off a certain style, seeing if it works, changing it up over time. Like you said, man, it's trial and error. You know, you're gonna have to literally fail at some things or just not hit a certain target, but be comfortable with that. So you can learn and say, okay, I can go back into my lab, back into my studio, back into wherever my creative space of create, hub is in my brain, and say, all right, this didn't work out, but I could do this now, or let me try this differently. So to your point, man, that's, I'm glad you gave that insight, man. I know we're getting down to the end of today's episode, but I do know that for everyone tuning in, that you do have some things in the works other than your YouTube channel. So
Yeah.
yeah, I know you can probably shed a little info on that.
Yeah, I'll try to be concise as possible. I know, I appreciate everyone that's been here. We appreciate everyone
Yeah.
that's been here. And thank you, Nayland, for the platform. This is truly amazing. If you would have asked me 5 years ago, I remember my first podcast. I butchered it. It was horrible. I was so
I saw the
nervous.
clip.
I knocked the mic over. I pissed everybody off. Yo, like public speaking was not my thing, and that's why I got into sales because I was like, oh man, I can't even be a scrub when it's time to chat.
Yeah.
Good
Right. Yeah.
question. Someone asked, "What's my favorite piece behind me?" Hopefully you guys can see.
Oh.
Let me try to. It's not gonna work. There's a baby blue jacket to this side of me. That is my favorite piece, and I'm gonna tell you exactly why, and then I'm gonna answer your question, Nayland. My bad. So the reason that's my favorite jacket
Mhm.
is, it's a jacket called, and many of you guys probably already know, it's a Barber jacket, and it's huge in the UK and a lot of European jackets or European countries, and it's pretty much a utility jacket, kind of almost similar to a trench coat because it's all weather purpose. So it's meant to be worn in harsh weather conditions to a certain extent, but especially rain. And it has a wax canvas cotton on it, so a wax outer. So it's for the most part easy to clean, and then it wicks water away as well. So that's my favorite jacket for a couple reasons. One of the reasons is because back in like 2020, maybe 2019, 2020, I created one and I created it in Pakistan, but they didn't have the capability at that time. And I don't know if they have it now because I haven't went back to try to make that jacket, but they didn't have the capacity to make a wax canvas jacket. So they just made a canvas jacket. And the difference between the wax canvas and the canvas is that, like I said, the wax canvas is going to be all weather purpose and wick moisture. So whereas a canvas jacket, yeah, it may take a minute for you to feel the effects of the rain or different weather conditions. But once you do, that jacket is going to go from, let's say it's 3 pounds to 10 pounds, because that jacket's going to absorb everything because of the material that it's made with. So it was just awesome to go from, let's say, 2019 to where I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I did the best that I could do at that time to where I have the exact jacket that I want and wanted to make at that time. And not only do I have the jacket that I wanted, I also now have it completely customized because when you look at barber jackets, you're getting a tan, you're getting an olive green, you're getting a black, and you're getting a navy. That's about it. I make mine in baby blue. I make mine in red. when I went to Japan, when I went to Charleston, South Carolina, when I've been to all the different hot spots of where barber jackets are extremely popular, people pull me to the side all the time. And they're like, "Yo, where did you get this barber jacket?" And I'm like, "I made it, or I designed it and had somebody make it." So that's probably my favorite item out of everything. And then I add, I mean, I think it's like there's like 9 to 8, it's about 9 pockets on it. Every single pocket within reason has a zipper on it. It has inside pockets on it. It has a detachable hood. It has corduroy collars. It has corduroy cuffs. It has heavy hardware material in terms of buttons and zippers and things like that. So it's like I put everything I could possibly think of into that jacket. The downside is the minimum
Right.
quantity for me to purchase is 100. It's really 300, but I've known her for a minute and I had to do some negotiation. So it's like, yo, when I purchase that jacket, I gotta buy, unless it's a sample, which is almost twice the price of a wholesale cost. I gotta purchase 100 of them, and that's minimum like 10 grand on one item. So I'm like, man, how am I gonna make this happen for the masses? So I just got to do what I can do for now.
Yeah,
To get back to your question,
yeah.
Nayland, which I think I talked too long.
Well, so I was saying, if you could let people know what you have in the
Yes,
works to be on the lookout
got
for.
it.
Yeah.
So it's a couple things. Actually, it's more than a couple. It's a lot of things. And sorry if I get long winded on this, because I'm just excited to share these things,
Nah,
especially
nah,
with
you
everything that's been going on. So the very first
for
thing,
sure.
for especially for those of us in the 757, there's a Black Chamber of Commerce here in the Hampton Roads called Black Brand, and they help you know expand Black businesses. But they also have a 12-week accelerator program called B Force Accelerator. So we just finished our third week. Next week we'll be on our fourth week, but I'm in that cohort now, one of 10 businesses. So they're helping us, from networking, from funding, from business plans to, just expand our business overall. So that's one thing that's super exciting that I'm working on. Also, as of this week, I got accepted into Assembly. If you guys don't know, that's a co-working space off of Grady Street. Any type of technology, any type of innovation, any type of forward thinking, a lot of it's going to be uh, is going to spawn outside of Assembly. So definitely make sure you tap in. But I was accepted into their Changemaker program, and that's a year-long residency, and they expect us to spend about 8 to 10 hours a week in there, which I can do easily. They expect us to host one event a month.
Congratulations.
Thank you, and it's really to not only help them market their space, but also give us an opportunity to help expand our businesses too. But I say all that to say there's really three facets of the business that we're working on right now. Obviously, we have our in-house brand called Three Scoops Fashion House, to where we sell the items that you see behind us. So, that's the dream, that's the goal. That's, I want to sell fire merch to people and be able to live a sustainable life and support a family off of that, right? So that's number one. Um, that it's not in the and I'm being extremely personal with everyone, right? It's that type of clothing isn't a necessity. It's always going to be a want, right? So you got to make people desire it, and it goes up and it goes down. So it's like, although that's what I want, I also have to be able to pivot and see what to focus to where if I'm gonna have, my fiance believe in my dream, I can't have her out here starving on the streets, right? I gotta pay the bills and provide. So another facet of that too is going to be with we have a teamwear side of the business to where we
Sure.
make athletic uniforms. So we can make all sports, but I'm starting off with basketball right now just to have a really good history. And for those of you that don't know, my background professionally or corporate wise, is tech sales. So I've sold everything from commercial real estate data and analytics to digital marketing to workforce solutions to uh, crowdfunding. So I've done quite a few things, and then outside of that, I've done economic development as well for localities. Um, so with that being said, I've been around, know a lot of people. So I'm gonna start. Well, it's already in its developmental stages, and some of it we've made. But I'm selling teamwear as well, and basketball uniforms moving forward. So I'm actually building out a completely separate business, completely separate website. My samples. I actually have a meeting here in 30 minutes with my manufacturer from the Philippines to make sure that we're still on schedule to receive everything on time. So that's another facet of the business that we're using so that we can bring in more consistent revenue, because almost no matter what happens, kid sports is always going to be a thing, starting from 3 years old to shit. It's adults
Very true.
playing over 50 right now. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So they're spending
Yeah.
their money somewhere. Why not spend it with us? And then the last thing, since we have these manufacturers, we have these connections, and I've won one before, is government contracts. So I'm very heavy. I have a team that I work with. She's actually based out of Norfolk. She's her husband's in the military, and she helps support businesses winning government contracts. So I'm working on government contracts as well. I know I've worked with the Department of Veteran Services and the cemetery up in Richmond. I made like 150 beanies for them a couple years ago. So I want to expand that
Oh,
nationally. I want to win local contracts, state contracts, and federal contracts as well. So that's another side of the business, because with those three combined, it's like, okay, from the government contracts to the teamwear, that can support livelihood and fund Three Scoops or fund crew member. Because as you guys can see, we're kind of rebranding from Three Scoops to crew members, kind of like Ralph Lauren, Purple Label, Black. Well, excuse me. Let me say it in order. Ralph Lauren, Black Label, Purple Label. So that's the same thing with Three Scoops and Three Scoops crew member.
gotcha.
Um, so yeah, those are the three expansions that we're working
Dope.
into. We also have a nonprofit called Sew and Grow. So it started off as just teaching high school and college students how to sew for free, but it's really developed into a fashion academy. So I don't deter students from trying to become fashion designers, but I make it very apparent that if you're a fashion designer, you're going to make the least amount of money and you're going to get paid last. So if you're in this to make a quick buck, like, it's probably not going to go the way that you want to go. And that's almost in any industry, right? Like, you actually have to have love and respect for the
Yeah.
game, because you can get burnt out, or you can be extremely high and then you can be extremely low, because you got to know the ins and outs of what it is that you're trying to do. So it's really a fashion academy, and I just, the entry point is a quick win. Okay, you'll take an old T-shirt, you're gonna repurpose it, you're gonna sew it into a tote bag. Then you're like, oh, okay, I did something hands on. I actually didn't like it, but I'm interested to see what other
Yeah.
fashion opportunities are here that I can introduce them to. So I do internships, I do mentoring, I do networking, I help them find jobs. I've built a whole community
Dope.
around how they can be successful and what they can do based on what they're interested in. Because you may be interested in fashion, but like yourself, you may be in photography, videography. I had somebody today, one of the students, super smart. He was like, if I'm a mathematician, how can I put myself in the fashion industry? And I was like, oh, you can be an accountant if that's what you're interested in. You can do profit and
Shoot,
loss,
right?
taxes. You can do 5 year
Yes.
projections. You can tell people how they need to make a profit. Oh, it's people will love you if you
Yeah.
can tell them how they can run
Oh yeah.
a clothing line. Because as a entrepreneur, that's, for the most people, that's
Fact.
still the talent. So there's so many different things that they can do. But when people think of clothing, it's just like, I have to make my clothes and sell it. Nah, you can do things like sourcing, where all you are is a third party, and you tell people how to buy the best buttons,
Right.
how to buy the best zippers,
Right.
right? How to buy the best fabric. You can work retail.
Mhm.
I have a homie that works for Chanel. All he
Yeah.
does is sell high end clothing, high fashion, makes a killing, loves it, travels all over the world, goes to all the huge
Yeah.
fashion shows. So Yeah, those
There's a
are
lot of pathways. Yeah.
exactly. So that's to answer, I guess, the final question there. That's everything that to expect in the future that we're
Okay.
working on, and hopefully that was relevant and made sense.
Amazing. Yes, very relevant. Very relevant. Thank you so much. Yeah, bro. I mean, again, everyone tuning in, there's a reason why I wanted to speak with this brother and get his knowledge, blasted through the airways here, through the social media channels, just so y'all can really tap into what's going on as creatives, provide context to what we're doing. Kendall's been doing this for a while, y'all. So, definitely make sure y'all tap in and stay tuned. Yeah, if you can, Kendall, man, just tell people what your social media handles are and where they could find you on YouTube and whatnot, what to look for, what to
Yeah.
type in,
So
how to spell it, all that fun
I,
stuff.
I I left one thing out, two things out. For one,
Okay.
I did write an ebook, and it's in the editing process now, so we can get it official and have it launched properly. So we're gonna do an ebook, and we're gonna do a physical book. The reason that's relevant because as I talk about the social handles, obviously we have Instagram, which a lot of you guys are on now. We also have Facebook, which is kind of boomered out. Like my parents got on there, our parents' generation
Yeah.
slash Facebook is wild. Um,
Yeah.
I don't use Twitter as much for the brand, but I still have a Twitter as well and YouTube. So I'm pretty heavy on YouTube. And the reason I bring YouTube and ebook together is because with the ebook, it's going to be very interactive. So for every chap, and there's actually already a lot of content on YouTube right now that I've put out there. But once we release this ebook and the book, there's going to be a QR code or a link that every chapter in the book will have a YouTube video that correlates with it. So after you read that chapter, if you want a better understanding, it'll be me with a video going over step by step what I discussed in that chapter as well. Um, so those are really, and then we have our website,
So
www.threescoops.com. The Teamwear website, it's on its way. It's so much on its way that I do not know the website for that yet. I've only seen the sample website, but you'll be able to find everything.
okay, they're gonna stay tuned when you
Yeah,
drop it.
you
They're
have to
gonna
stay
see it.
tuned on that.
Yeah.
But everything is going to be promoted through
Yeah.
Instagram. So as long as you follow us on there, then we can connect you to anything. And then if you have any questions, obviously you can reach out to us via our DM, via our email, or you can text or call us. I'm huge on that customer service. That's one huge thing that I think I hate talking to AI. I hate talking to chat boxes. The only time I don't mind it is like I don't know if y'all been to restaurants and you pull up and it's you chat with the AI and they accept your order. I'm like, all right, that's kind of fire. I can't be mad at that, right?
Yeah.
Um, or like in Japan, they have it to where there's a QR code and you don't talk to your server unless they're bringing you an item. But once you scan, it opens up your tab and then you just continuously place your order until you're ready to close out through the QR code, or it just leaves you a long running website tab. So you really don't have to
Yeah.
talk to them because if you want something, you just say, I want to order this. You put the order in and they bring it to you. So you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I'm really big. So if you have questions, like I'm sure I have virtual assistants, so I know I got to scale. But you can call me and I'm gonna answer, or someone's gonna answer, or I'm gonna call you back, or you can text, or like you can email, whatever way people feel most comfortable. I really want to keep that human interaction live. I want to have live consultations for Teamwear. I want to show up in person for my sew and growing bits. I want people to know that, like, hey, at the end of the day, we still have to be a community that engages with one another so we can make this thing work together. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much technology we have, if the people aren't spending, nothing's going to spend.
Facts. Big facts. And I would be remiss to not mention this, even though it's probably on the screen that people can see. But Tell people, how do you spell Three Scoops, please, so they can make sure they find you on these
That's absolutely.
various channels.
People spell it incorrectly all the time, and honestly, it's not even that clever, right? So it's three scoops. THREESCOOOPS. So there's three O's in scoops, and literally the only reason I did that is because there's a three in the front. I figured it only makes sense to be three O's. There's no
Three
other reason.
O's.
Mind you guys,
Hey, it's simple, but it's dope.
I was
It's
21,
simple, but it's dope.
22 when I came up with this, right? I'm 36 now.
It,
So.
hey, let it rock, bro.
Right.
It makes sense. It flows. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I think, like I told people in the beginning, man, Three Scoops is. I've seen the brand various times. You know, not just in pop up events or at places, but also him wearing the brand, right? And I'm looking at the attire, like, yo, that's kind of fly, that shirt. You know what I'm saying? And also, somebody did say in the chat they like the quarter zip.
Thank you.
That quarter zip is fire. So I know they weren't talking about me because I'm wearing a cardigan. So, I know that wasn't for me. So I had to bring that up. But whoever it is tuning in, again, Three Scoops on Instagram, Three Scoops Fashion House on YouTube, Three Scoops everywhere. Make sure you got the three O's in the scoop so you can find him. And yeah, man, I'm gonna just leave it there, man. I appreciate you, brother, for your time.
I hate to ask to add one more thing, but I feel like culturally,
Oh, okay.
I have to explain this because it weighs heavy on my heart, right? Because my family is
Okay.
from the deep south, and it's just a part of the roots. And hopefully, this isn't too much. But at the same time, I feel like in terms of representation of us, and I think we're all us on the lives here. I think it's important to have a level of integrity, uh, have a level of respect for your craft, and do the right thing because we're very hard on each other when it comes to not living up to expectations, right? So I always want to make it known that like
Mhm.
I'm doing the best that I can. I'm giving you the best that I can, and if you feel like there's been miscommunication, you've been cheated, any type of emotion that doesn't make you feel positive, I'm open to that conversation. And not only I hopefully you do it respectfully so we can chat about it without escalating, but I think that's very, very important for us as a community, and for us as a brand to listen, to try to understand, and try to give everybody the best that we can give them with what we have. So I just wanted to end on that and make sure I say that because that's more important to me in terms of business, than anything else. I want people to know whatever interaction, whatever transaction that we have, that we make, that I truly value it, and I need the person on that receiving end of that transaction to hopefully they feel the same way too. And if they don't, let me know because my intention is to never be negative.
For sure, for sure. Well, hey, I definitely understand, brother. Appreciate you sharing that sentiment. Again, everyone tuning in, whether it's in the recording or on the live, you heard it from him. Artists, we need y'all support, but we also need your communication. Really, just let us know what's up, how you feeling, ways you can improve, ways you can connect with you further. But yeah, don't forget, Three Scoops on all social platforms. Put three O's in the scoops, y'all. If you if you put only two, you might not see it right away. But
Yeah,
again, this is definitely going to be a continuation. I definitely see us doing some more lives, having some more conversations going forward. So to everyone tuning in, thank you again for your time, your energy, just
absolutely.
being receptive, the questions, comments. And keep tuning in, man. Definitely on YouTube. Check out Three Scoops Fashion House. This is also going to be up under the virtual gallery page, the Color Black virtual gallery on YouTube. The word color is spelled COLOUR. Everyone, we're bringing it back to the way color was Yeah, that's a whole nother episode. I'm gonna tell y'all why I got that name that way. But yeah, the Color Black Virtual Gallery. Again, I'm your host, Smart Guy, signing off, man. Appreciate y'all. One love.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir. Of course.
Tell everybody I said hello. Yes, sir.